Hi there, this is Dr. Everybody, and we're going to take a look at Project 5. What I want you to particularly pay attention to on this one is how I go about solving this. That is, I don't try to solve the whole thing at once. That's the hardest thing you can do. The way to make life easy for yourself is always build it in pieces. Try and find something small to start with. Get that working, and then add on to it, and add on to it. Right? And so what I'm going to do here on this one is I'm going to show you some pieces exactly the way I started solving this problem. Right? And so with that, let's take a look at this. So we got a project. It's got two parts to it, an A and a B. It has a file. So basically what we're doing here is we have gone and grabbed some real data on polio. Right? And we've been eradicating polio. Vaccinations have been in the news with these idiots who think that vaccination causes other problems. And so it's nice for us to take a look at something that's controversial right now. And polio has basically been eradicated. It's not something in the Western world that we worry about. With that, there is a file, and either using Notepad or text edit in the Mac world, take a look at what the file looks like. Open it up, and we can see that it's got some data. It's all lined up nicely, and we're going to take advantage of that. And the basic idea is that we're going to read this in. When we read a file, it comes in as strings. And then we're going to ask some information about it. And there's two parts. Wait, I guess before that, notice that notice a couple of things here. Let me get my. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of information. There's the income level, which is the first 6 characters. There's the region, which is the next 4. There's the country, which is the next 55 characters, depending on how long it is. There's a year, which is 4 characters, and then it follows by the percent vaccinated, which is 3 characters. And of course, that's the part that we're really interested in. What percentage? So the country of Albania, 92% of them are vaccinated, whereas in Antigua it's only 36, right? And in the year 1980, now as we scroll through this, and we'd see that these vaccination rates improve over time, and that's what we can look at. These income levels, the table of what they mean is there. So what we're going to do is part A. There's 2 parts to this. Is part A and part B. In part A, it's going to be focused on the year and all the information that goes in a particular year. All right. Part B is going to focus on finding particular averages based upon certain income levels. So we might be interested in everybody whose income level is high and what's the average of their vaccination rates, for example. All right, that's what the second part is. So we've already started this, broken it up into a couple of easier things, and I'm going to take you through how I go about solving this. And so part A focuses on the year. I'm just going to go through. First thing I'm going to do, very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just print out all the information in the file. Then I know I can open it and do it. Then I'm going to find the years. I'm going to print out all the years. Okay. Then I'll take some input like 1980 and print out just the ones that have 1980. And then I'll take a look at something close to what's going on in part B. So let's take a look at this. So a couple of other things to notice here. that Okay, so we're gonna so like in the first one we don't even prompt for the file. Okay, and there's some error checking. Okay, I'm gonna leave that till later. All right, we'll do that later. Then we're going to enter a year and copy all the lines of that year. And there are some, specifications like, what do I do if I only put part of it in, and so on. I'm going to leave this stuff for later. I'm going to enter a year perfectly, the whole year, and that's what I'm going to worry. And then there is some formatting. Okay, again, let me get the values out and then I'll format it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on entering a year and printing all those lines for that year. The rest of the stuff I'll do later. Same thing, and we'll take a look at something similar for the other one. The focus here is on doing this in pieces. So the very first thing I'm going to do is my file pointer. There's a file, polio.txt, and for line in my file, print the line. And then at the end, close it. All right, that's all I'm going to do. Let's see how that goes. Now, because the values got printed out, I know that I successfully opened the file. If it doesn't find it, it may not be there, but a handy thing to do is to do pwd. That actually prints out the, tells you the directory or the folder where you are working right now. And you can see in my case, I'm in my 231 directory projects and so on. The first step, so I wrote a 4-line program, and now I know that the file exists there and I can actually read it. Right. Now if we look at the specifications for where the year is, so we have 6 characters for income level, we have 4 characters for region, 55. So we got to get past all those. 6 and 4 is 10, and 55, that puts us up to 65. And then we're going to be, some other characters in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice out of that, out of my line, a slice, what did I say, 65, 69, let's try 72, I don't know, 74. And let's see, now instead of the line, let's just print the year and see what we get. All right, I got 14. Well, all right, so we got to be pretty close. Trial and error here. Let's start 2 characters earlier, and there we go. That starts to look like numbers. I'm going to change them to integers. That way I don't have to worry about spacing and stuff like that. And look at that. Now I have a 4-line program. I've yanked out the years. Now what do I want to do with this? Well, it said for a particular set of years, print the lines. Okay, so I'm printing all the lines again. And it said that the user is going to input a year. So let's call this the user's year. We're going to input a year. All right. And just because of where I'm heading with this, I'm going to convert that into an int. Now there's error checking that I have to do and so on. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But now if my user year is the same as the year of the line that we're at, let's print it. And see what happens. So we asked for a year. Let's go to the year 2001. And I print out a bunch of lines, and we can see that every one of them has the year 2001. Now, I will, I need to check and see whether that matches my actual text file, and yeah, there's a lot. There's quite a few 2001s, and I'll check that by hand. We don't give you that. You have to check that. That's part of your job. All right. So now I've pretty much finished part A. Okay. You know, it's like input a year, and there's all sorts of other stuff. Like, okay, you know, I need to be able to put in part of the year, and you know, or print all of them, and so on. I'm not going to do all the work for you here, but I got, you know, notice how I got this thing working. Now I can focus on what happens with parts of the year. All right, let's take a quick look at part B. All right. So again, if I just briefly, yeah. So let's take a look at part B. So what do we do in part B? Well, we're in part B. We're doing a couple of extra things. So we have to prompt for the input file. I'm not going to do that right now. We know which input file we're using, so I'm going to leave that for later. We're going to be looking at income levels. Well, you know what? For my purposes here, I'm just going to look at years rather than income levels. I'll get the rest of it working, and then I'll come back and do input levels. And what do? We find a count of the records specified by income level, the average percentage, that's polio, that's the last column, and then find the lowest and the highest. Well, we've done this before, so I'm going to leave that for later, because I know once I've got these numbers, I know how to find biggest and smallest, because we've done that before. All right, so let's take a look at how this might work. And I'm just going to do this with years. And so what do we have to do? Well, one of the things we have to do is find a count. So every time I print it out, I'm going to count it. Oops, plus equals 1. And how do we do? Notice I just added 2 lines. I checked. Oops, let's print out that count. And oops, I messed up there. Let me restart this. There we go. Alright, so input a year, let's go 2001. Alright, and so there were 188 values in 2001. Well, I'd have to go and check that by hand, but let's assume that I can actually count those. I've only printed out years 2001. Now the other thing we'd like to do is look at the average of these final values. So I get the years, vaccination, what's that going to be? That's going to be an int of, well, we finished ints at 74, so let's start at 75 and go to the end. And now let's print vaccination and the whole line and see what it looks like. We'll do 2004, see what we come up with. And I can see at the beginning I've just got a 7 and a 67 and a 4 and an 84. So that doesn't look like I got that right. Let's try starting at 74. See if that works a little better. And let's see, we'll do 2003 just for fun. Now, yes, I actually am getting the right values there for the vaccination. So notice again, I just did a little bit. I added 1 line, tested it out. Great. If I want to find averages, then I better have a total, which starts at 0. So every time we add 1 on here, now I just added 2 lines, test things out. I guess I didn't do anything. I still had my count. Print. We need to have an average. What is an average? Well, the average is the total over the count. All right. Do the year 2003, and now I have a count and an average. Now, it's not formatted right. Okay, that, you know, we're leaving that for later on, but I can actually get my averages. Is this a correct average? Take a calculator and figure it out. All right. It certainly looks like it's in the right ballpark, judging by the numbers that are there. There's a bunch in the 60s and 80s and 90s, and so the average of 84 something, yeah, that's probably the right ballpark. So, all right, that's great. Now I can. It says that we want to do some functions, so we need to have a function that gets that prompts for the file, and so that means that I had this fixed. Now I want to have a function that prompts for it, so I'll want to have comment that out. Let's see, what do we have? Open file. So I'll want to replace that with fp equals open file. I think it probably won't take any arguments. Now I need to write that function. Define open file, not taking any arguments, I think. Right, it's going to return a file object. And I can start out by in here and I can return that file pointer. Okay, we can try this out. Notice I've just changed things a little tiny bit. All right. Everything seems to be working. Of course, this isn't what I want my function to do, but start out just opening that file. And then what do I have to do? Well, I have to you know, prompt for it and return that. But now I just added 3 lines of code, and I have a working function that I can then go and do other things with. And then what do I do? We have to have this process file function. Well, create a function out of all this stuff. And how do I create a function out of it? Well, indent it and make a function. Define blah 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 with some arguments in there, and at the bottom it says don't return anything, so I don't return anything. Now I've created a function, and all functions go to the top of the program. So I can put it up there, and now I've got a function, and then I can create a main program and copy it from there. So there's hopefully something that will give you a start on this, and good luck.